Without any pressure towards Sudan, the invading party, nothing will be achieved. We can see this example extremely well in the example of Israel and Palestine, where Israel, the invading force, is not subject to any pressure, thus these peace talks lead to nowhere. This peace talks will have the same result. This resolution also calls for the ICC court trial. But however, as we've seen, the ICC has no binding powers, even though the ICC has required... No. Wait.
We're going to give you 1 minute, and I will ban twice when you have 45 seconds, so you have 15 seconds.
Okay. Even though the ICC has required African leaders, such as the president of Kenya, to go to the ICC for trial, he has simply ignored them and stayed there, and there's nothing the international community can do about it. The same... Thank you.
Okay, next, Delegate to what point you guys? What is your point of information?
What else is there, of course, if the delegate is not set up as soon as
You can send the delegate a note to clarify that, yes. Let's proceed. I'll pass it down first.
Ladies and gentlemen of the International Summit. This delegate hopes to keep this brief and would like all of you to know that initially he did not agree with this agreement. However, he has come to realize that this resolution is one that has very good logic behind it, as it actually allows the conflict to be resolved while not overstepping the boundaries and not infringing the sovereignty of these nations. This resolution actually allows for this conflict to be resolved while at the same time reducing the tension that the international community creates when it intervenes in domestic affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. We'll be having a last call speech. Delegate Nigeria, what point yours?
Motion to amend.
Motion to amend. We will be accepting it. We'll do that after the other.
Delegates, this resolution is like the fox. We don't know what it's trying to say. What is it trying to say to the international community? This resolution is predicated on the entire assumption that these states will be peaceful. They will peacefully comply to things like weekly UNSC meetings and democratic elections. And this delegate of the Republic of Korea can very clearly tell you that they can choose to not comply. Look at the case of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. They choose to condemn the UNSC endorsed democratic elections held in Korea. Furthermore, the entire concept of enforcing sanctions after 90 days. Sanctions are meant as a measure to pressure these Sudanese rebels into complying with these peace talks. But after 90 days, what are the main subjects of the resolution trying to achieve only after implementing this after 90 days? Do you know how many people would die after 90 days? There are already hundreds and thousands of civilians being killed in the Sudanese war. And finally, the delegate of the Republic of Korea would like to point out in clause 3 that she very clearly did not say that she would be contributing her military to these peacekeeping troops. She stated these to the submitters of this resolution, and as such, she will be raising an amendment later.
Are there any other points of motion? No. Delegate of Nigeria. That will be in order. Could you please read out the amendment?
The addition of a clause.
The addition of Clause 6, the establishment of a NATO-enforced no-fly zone in Sudan and South Sudan airspace in order to prevent the establishment of air superiority by Sudan.
Is that an unfriendly amendment? Sponsors. Friendly? That would automatically get unfriendly? Okay. Could you repeat that for committee and then we'll vote? That's fine. Just repeat.
Clause 6, the establishment of a NATO-enforced no-fly zone in Sudan and South Sudan airspace
No, it's okay. Just read it. It's fine.
in order to prevent the establishment of air superiority by Sudan.
Great. Delegate Nigeria, could you please come up and we'll have to accept to speak in favor of this amendment.
Fellow delegates, I've yet...
Sponsors.
Thank you.
That automatically gets added. Are there any other points of motion to floor? Maria.
Motion by amendment. Clause 3 subclause A subclause I. Thank you. Clause 3 to strike the Republic of Korea from subclause
Sponsors. Oh, this is not the new strategy. How in the updated resolution is the Korea? It's Germany. We will make that change.
Thank you.
Are there any other points or motions? Chile.
The delegate has an amendment. The delegate of Chile called for a NATO-led precision airstrike on key military targets on Sudan if Sudani forces do not go out of South Sudan 180 days after the enforcement of sanctions.
Second.
Is that a friendly or unfriendly amendment? Sponsors. Delegate, could you repeat that, please?
The delegate calls for a NATO-led precision airstrike campaign on key limited precision airstrike campaign on key Sudanese military targets if Sudanese forces do not go out of South Sudan 180 days after the enforcement of sanctions.
Thank you. Friendly, unfriendly? Friendly? Unfriendly? Okay. Delegate, actually, can you please come up with a 30-second speech on why that would be? What motion do you raise?
Regarding ceasefire, but not in the side, it's not a fire upon
The delegate of Chile believes in its current stage, this resolution lacks any fight. It lacks any techniques to make Sudan to comply with the international standards and pull out of their invasion of South Sudan. This airstrike campaign will make that happen. The international community needs to make Sudan know that this gross violation of national sovereignty is not acceptable. For those of you who are concerned with the casualties or the expenses of such a campaign, this campaign will not be extremely bad to your finances as it is only a limited airstrike campaign. No ground troops will be involved. Thank you.
Who would like to speak against this proposed amendment? United Kingdom.
This delegate of the United Kingdom is curious of all organizations you want to use the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Now the key area in the name of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is it operates in the North Atlantic. It has no reason to airstrike in South Sudan. This delegate also does not see reasons why we need an airstrike. It's not decisive action. This delegate would like to question the delegate actually use of airstrikes because at the end of the day, answering violence with violence is useless. This delegate urges the council to vote against this amendment.
Thank you, United Kingdom. Delegate Nigeria, what point do you raise?
Point of information.
Yes.
A clarification of where NATO is currently operating.
So the term NATO for the committee comes from, it's called the North Atlantic.
I know what the name stands for, but where is it currently operating? I would like to know.
NATO undertakes operations across the world and is not confined to operating just in
but it's still a
the
big.
North Atlantic region.
Not anymore.
Okay, whatever.
Okay. By the discretion of the chair, we're only going to be having one speaker prone against the amendment. We will now move into voting on the amendment. All those in favor will be following the same voting rules as yesterday. So if there's more yeses than noes, then the amendment will pass. All those in favor? All those opposed? That clearly fails. Are there any other motions on the floor? Delegate France.
Motion to strike clause 2. Clause 1B. 1B.
Friendly, unfriendly? Unfriendly. Unfriendly? Delegate France, 20 seconds.
The delegation of France, as has already pointed out, that opening up of borders of any nation, whether it's South Sudan or Sudan, would allow the pathway for illegal immigrants, and not just illegal immigrants, but as a delegate pointed out, militants or terrorists which are currently operating in South Sudan to move into Sudan. So what you're doing in fact is that you are escalating the violence in the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate France. Who would like to speak against?
Good morning. I believe that the refugees are of utmost importance in this situation, and the situation with Pakistan is. Yeah, I believe that if the governments are consenting, that is a different thing altogether. And also, we will have forces to oversee that there will be that to actually reduce the conflict. And I believe that the peacekeeping forces will also ensure that
Thank you, Delegate. We're out of time. We will now go into voting on this amendment. All those in favour? All those opposed? That amendment also fails. By the discretion of the chair, we will go to voting on the resolution itself. At this time, we will not be accepting further amendments. All those in favour of this resolution? Can you please raise your placards high? Delegates, no crosstalk.